Alright. I gotta get back in the flow of things here. Just like y'all, I had 2 weeks off myself. Alright. We are covering 11.5 today. And that is subtracting integers, or it should be. As you will notice, I'm trying some different things with my recording my voice as I'm talking, so I don't have to wear that big old, airplane pilot deal there. And hopefully, I tested this over the holidays, so hopefully it works. But talking about subtracting integers today. But first, I want to make sure we remember our rules from before the holidays when you weren't zombies. Okay? I know you take your brain and you shut it off, those 2 weeks, and you play, unlimited Clash of Clans, and, some of you bang your head against the wall, and some of you are, I know you don't go home and do math, okay? I do it all the time. No, joking, I didn't go home and do math either. Now, so I want to remind us of our rules. Let's first of all look at this problem. When we're talking about adding, and you're going, well, why do we have to remember adding when we're talking about subtraction? Well, I will explain that here in a second. But when you have two negatives and you add two negatives together, okay, let's remember that basically two negatives is just like having three negative signs on this side and three negative signs on the other side. So how many negative signs do I have? 6. So the answer to this problem is -6. Okay? When we have two negative signs, we're adding two numbers that are both negative, then you simply add the two numbers together and keep the negative sign. Okay? Second type of problem. Let's say I have 5 plus -3. So I have 5 positive signs and 3 negative signs. Okay? Now, negative and positives cancel each other out. So for every positive sign, it's going to cancel out a negative sign. So what am I left with? 2 positives. Okay? So the answer to this problem then is 2. And it's a positive 2. Okay? Now, let's say the problem was the opposite. Let's say it was -5 plus +3. Okay? If it's -5 plus +3, then that means we have 5 negative signs plus 3 positive signs. Okay? And so each negative and positive cancel each other out. So that leaves me as what? 2 negative signs, which means it's -2. And what you're doing there is, remember the rule, okay? Let's remember our rule that when we have a negative plus a positive, okay, or a positive plus a negative, okay, then you take the absolute value of the two numbers. The absolute value of -10 is 10. The absolute value of 7 is 7, and we're subtracting their absolute values. Okay, we're subtracting their absolute values. 10 minus 7 is what? 3. Which one has the larger absolute value, the negative or the positive? The negative. So it's -3. Okay? So remember, when you have a positive and a negative, doesn't matter which order they're in, okay? for example, the same answer is this. If I have 7 plus negative 10, well, 7 plus negative 10, I'm still going to do the same thing. Still going to take the absolute value, 10 minus 7, 3, and a larger one is negative, so it'd be negative 3. Okay, so remember that. Remember, positive and negative, you're subtracting the absolute values. Okay, negatives, two negatives, you're simply adding the two numbers together and keeping the negative sign. Obviously, the third rule is if we have two positives. Okay, you've been doing that since, whenever, kindergarten, hopefully first grade at least. If you have 5 plus 6, obviously that is 11. Okay, two positive, you simply add the two numbers together just like we've been doing for a good while now. Okay, now that brings us to what we're actually talking about today. Okay, so that's the zombie review. Okay, get your mind thinking back to, the week before we got out for Christmas and, you hadn't been sniffing, Christmas trees and gift wrap and all that stuff. Okay, so as we talk about subtraction, okay, here's what we have. Let's say I have 4 minus 10. Okay, 4 minus 10. So what have your teachers told you since you were in kindergarten or first grade about 4 minus 10? Not necessarily that specific problem, but what have they told you? If you wrote that problem, 4 minus 10, what did maybe your teachers tell you? Maya. Right. They say you can't do that. Okay, or you wrote it the wrong way. Okay, well, that's a lie. Okay, you can do this. Okay, at the time, you didn't know the rule on how to do it. Okay, it's just like when your parents tell you don't put your hand on the stove. You don't understand why you don't do that. You just know what? That it hurts when you do that. Okay, so now you understand. As you get older, you understand. Oh, well, that's why you don't put your hand on the stove, because it's going to burn you. Okay, they just say don't touch. Okay, they don't give an explanation. Okay, same thing here. There is a way to do this. You just have to know the rule, and the rule is this. Okay, any subtraction problem we will change to addition. Okay, any subtraction problem we will change to addition, and here's how you do it. All right, we're going to change this problem to addition by doing this. The first number, in this case 4, stays the same. We're going to change the subtraction to addition. And then we're going to do the opposite of the number that's behind the subtraction sign. What is the opposite of positive 10? Negative 10. Okay? So there's your new problem. This problem no longer exists. Our new problem is 4 plus negative 10. Okay? Well, do we know how to do 4 plus negative 10? I hope so, because we just reviewed how to do 4 plus negative 10. So once you get to this point here, now you follow the rules for adding integers. So there's really only one extra step in subtracting integers besides the rules for adding integers. Okay? That one extra step was the first step where we change all subtraction to addition. Okay? Now, I just solve, or I simplify this problem. To simplify this problem, I have to take the absolute value of 4 and negative 10. What is the absolute value of 4? 4. What is the absolute value of 10? 10. Or negative 10, excuse me. So I subtract the absolute value. Okay? Now, the problem is this. People get confused here. And they'll go, well, that's just the same problem that we did. No, it's not. Okay? What is 10 minus 4? 6. Okay? 4 minus 10 is the opposite of 10 minus 4, correct? So, if 10 minus 4 is 6, then what is the opposite of 6? Negative 6. So, therefore, 4 minus 10 must be negative 6. The reason it's negative 6 is what is 10 minus 4? 6. Which has the larger absolute value, 4 or negative 10? Negative 10 has the larger absolute value, so therefore we keep the negative sign and bring it down into our answer. And so our answer is negative 6. Okay? Now, for the time being, we are going to convert all subtraction to addition. Okay? Because I want you to get in the habit of what the process is. Okay? Let's look at another example. Let's look at this one. Number 1 from your work that you'll do tonight says negative 10 minus positive 7. I'm writing it just like they wrote it. Okay? You know, we don't have to put the positive sign. If you want to right now, that's fine. Eventually you need to get in the habit of knowing, obviously, that a number without a sign means it's positive. Okay, so now, the first step, change the subtraction to addition. That's step 1. Okay, now to do that, the first number stays the same, so negative 10. We change the subtraction to addition. Then we do the opposite of positive 7, which is negative 7. Okay, we change subtraction to addition, and we do the opposite of the number behind the subtraction sign. Okay, now, step 2, follow your rules for adding integers. Okay, follow your rules for adding integers. So, we're following the rules for adding integers. Then, what do I do here? Remember, this problem no longer exists. Do what? You sort of do. That's what you're basically doing, but I don't want you to think that we're going to subtract the absolute values. If I have 2 negatives, what do I do? Add. We add them up. What's 10 plus 7? Yes, that is where your absolute value comes in. We're really adding the absolute value of negative 10 plus the absolute value of negative 7, which is 17. Whoops, let me change back. But we're keeping the sign. Those two have to come down here. So it's negative 17. And once you again visualize it, if I've got 10 negative signs, then over here I have 7 negative signs. Okay, that's a whole lot of negative signs. So there's no way that answer is going to be positive. Okay? If I take $10 from you and then the next day I take $7 from you, probably most of you are not going to feel positive about that. If you are, let me know, and we'll do that. And we'll contribute to Coach Smith's retirement fund. $17, not a whole lot, but hey, every little bit helps. All right, so it's 17, and it's negative 17 because there's two negative signs. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 says positive 8 minus negative 3. Okay, positive 8 minus negative 3. So that means, once again, change all subtraction to addition. First number stays the same, positive 8. Change the subtraction to addition and do the opposite of negative 3. The opposite of negative 3 is positive 3. So what is positive 8 plus positive 3? 11. Think about it, visualize it. Okay, I have 8 positive signs. Okay, and then I have the plus in the middle, then I have 3 positive signs. Okay, is there any way you're going to get a negative answer out? There ain't any negatives in there. Okay, and therefore, you simply add the two numbers together, and it's positive 11. Okay? Remember, don't even think about, once you've converted the problem, don't think about the other problem once you've converted it. Okay? All right, I want you to do number 3 on your own. Number 3 says negative 3 minus negative 2. When you have the answer, raise your hand. Okay, put your hands down. I'm going to ask a specific question. I'm not asking for the answer yet. Jonah, what is the next step? What did you get for your next step when you converted it? Okay. Okay. So you get negative 3 plus positive 2. Okay. That's what the second step looks like. So, once again, this problem does not exist. Okay? So what do I do there? Somebody raise your hand and tell me, what do we do with negative 3 plus a positive 2? Staley.
You have to find absolute value and then subtract it.
Okay. You have to do the absolute value. So what is the absolute value of negative 3? 3. What is the absolute value of 2? 2. And I'm going to subtract the smaller absolute value from the larger absolute value. What's 3 minus 2? 1. Now, which number or which integer has the larger absolute value? Negative 3 or positive 2? Negative 3. So therefore my answer is -1. Okay? All right, do number 4 on your own. Number 4 says +5 minus +10. All right, who has an answer? Okay, keep working then. I don't have enough people with answers yet. Okay, who has an answer now? Okay. Isaiah, what'd you get? -5. That is correct. Okay, it is -5. Now, the reason it's -5 is because we're going to take the absolute value of -10 and +5. We're going to take the absolute values and subtract. I'm writing it again, so we know we're subtracting absolute values. Okay, so we don't think, well, you're just subtracting the opposite of that. No, you're not doing that. Okay, then when you get that, you get 5. Your larger absolute value is the negative sign, and so we have to bring that down into our answer. Okay? All right. I want you to go to the board. Here's what we're going to do. These 4 go into this board. Okay. These 4 go into that board. Probably need to have, you probably need to have your book so I don't have to write it on the screen because I'm fixing to cancel the recording. Okay. Let's see. You 2 go to that board. You go to that board. You are at that board. So y'all can just basically put your knee in your chair and